If you're struggling to get the sound that you're after, the bottom of the instrument isn't quite speaking like you want it to, or the top of the instrument is sounding quite thin, then your problem is probably that you're not breathing in enough. Now that might sound a bit strange because to play the saxophone you need to push the air out of your lungs. But before you do that, you've got to take the air in. And without that huge breath of air in your lungs, you are not going to get the sound that you want. The main thing that I want you to get out of this video is to get breathing into your subconscious and not having to think about it. Because if we're having to think about breathing, that means it's taking up headspace for everything else we need to do in our music. We've got to think about our tongue, we've got to think about our fingers, we've got to think about our key signature, we've got to think about our time signature. There are lots and lots of things to think about while we're playing music. We don't want to be thinking about our breathing. So when we breathe to have a conversation, when we breathe to walk around the streets, we're only using a small part of our lungs. When we go and do exercise, we need to start thinking about breathing because we get a little bit breathless. We need to start thinking about taking a deeper breath for our bodies to recover. That really big, deep breath is the way that we need to breathe when we're playing the saxophone. If you can do that and you can get that into your subconscious, you don't have to think about that breathing, then you'll be able to make the sound that you want on the instrument and your focus can be on other parts of your playing. Now, if you think about where your lungs actually are, they actually go down a little bit further than you would probably think. The job of your rib cage is actually to protect the upper organs of your body, including your lungs. Now, if you feel how far down your rib cage goes, that'll give you an idea about how far your lungs actually stretch down into your chest. Now, when we breathe in, our diaphragm that sits just underneath our lungs contracts. That pulls down to draw air into our lungs. Now just look how low down our diaphragm actually is. If we're taking a breath at the top of our chest, then that means we're not filling up the bottom of our lungs. We need to feel the air traveling into our lungs at the bottom. And the best way I can describe this to happen is for us to feel like we're breathing into our tummy. We want to make sure that we give enough room for our lungs to our diaphragm to contract down and our lungs to expand as much as possible. First thing that I want you to try, just to make sure that you're using your lungs in the right way, is put your hands on your tummy with your fingertips just touching over your belly button. And when you take a full breath in into the bottom of your lungs, what you should notice is your fingers move apart. So if I take a full breath in now, my fingers have moved apart because my tummy has expanded. What we don't want to see is this, taking a deep breath in and your tummy going in. That's just going to restrict our diaphragm pulling down and our lungs filling up with air. One other really quick way to see if you're using all of your lungs is take in the deepest breath you can and then hold it at the top. Once you get to the top of that breath, I want to see if you've got any room left for any little sips of air. If you had any more room for them little sips of air, then that means that full breath you thought you took in wasn't actually the biggest breath you could take. Now, once you've got that huge breath of air in your lungs, the next thing is pushing it out of your body. Now, there is a bit of a myth about your diaphragm. It's impossible for your diaphragm to push. You cannot push with your diaphragm. The diaphragm has contracted when it's come down. It relaxes when it moves up. So to push the air out of our lungs, we need to use the muscles in our body. The only way that this works so successfully is because of the resistance created with that tiny hole we're pushing the air through. The usual thing to happen when we breathe out is our diaphragm relaxes, our chest muscles relax, and that is what lets the air escape out of our bodies. What we want to do when we're playing the saxophone is we want to push that air into the instrument at a specific speed. So to do that, there is resistance because of the gap we are pushing the air through, and we need to use the muscles in our bodies to squeeze the air into the instrument. To practice pushing that air out of your lungs in a controlled way, I suggest you use a sheet of paper. Hold that piece of paper in front of you about a pencil length away from your nose, and then I want you to blow against that sheet of paper for as long as you possibly can to just suspend it in the air, like this. For this next little exercise, you will need a balloon. Now, the way that I want you to breathe in is imagine that you need to blow that balloon up in one breath. Just think about how much air you're going to need to take in to fill that balloon up with one breath. One final point about breathing in is if you don't feel any tension in the lower part of your lungs, around your rib cage, around your tummy muscles, then it probably means that you're not using your lungs to their capacity. I'm not saying that this is going to hurt. There should in no way be any pain when you're breathing in, but it shouldn't feel like a normal breath. There are two things I want you to take away from this video. The first one is getting that idea of breathing into your subconscious. We don't want to be thinking about taking that huge breath in every time we've got the saxophone to our face. It must be an instinctive thing to happen when you're playing the saxophone. The second thing I want you to make sure you do is think about blowing that balloon up in one breath. But it's not the blowing out that you need to think about, it's the breathing in. How much air are you going to need to breathe in to blow that balloon up in one breath? I'm pretty sure if you work really hard at breathing in, then you're going to solve some of them issues that you might have been finding at the bottom of the instrument, those notes not speaking properly, or a thin sound at the top. Breathing in, having that huge amount of air in your lungs is key to making a great sound. Final thing, as always, thank you so much for engaging with this material. As always, if there's any questions, please put them in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and please share this with others. I want to try and reach as many people as possible because I do believe what I'm saying will improve your playing. So feel free to share with friends, family, colleagues, students, and I hope it helps. Thanks very much, and I'll see you next time.